Hey everyone, my name is Nate Sheets, and in this video I'm excited to introduce cognitive support. Cognitive support is a method of figuring out why behaviors happen in children and adults with fetal alcohol spectrum disorders and other developmental disabilities. I want you guys to imagine for a moment going through life being called a liar, a thief, lazy, and manipulative, but from your perspective, none of these things are true, and you don't always understand why people are saying these things about you. For people with FASD, such judgment from society is an everyday thing, and often society is simply wrong in their assessment of what is happening. So what is going on? When Jennifer, who has FASD, gets home from school, her parents greet her and try to keep things positive. She walks through the door and they ask her how school was, and she instantly becomes defensive. Her mother tries to calm her down by telling her that they're just asking, but Jennifer keeps getting more and more upset. She storms off to her room while her dad follows her and tells her that she shouldn't talk disrespectfully to her parents that way. Jennifer continues to yell and scream. Her father ends the conversation by saying that if she doesn't do her homework that night, that she's not going to get to watch any TV, which is something in her routine that she enjoys. Jennifer spends 20 more minutes in her room screaming and ends up staying there for the whole night, not getting any homework done and not watching any TV. From the outside, the situation may seem like Jennifer has an attitude problem and that she's being disrespectful to her parents, but there's more to the story than that. Using cognitive support, we can look beyond the appearance of behaviors and ask ourselves which cognitive skills are struggling. Once we identify these clashing cognitive skills, we can come up with practical solutions to prevent these issues next time. Let's look at the situation through the lens of cognitive support. As I go through it again, I'm going to list out some of the cognitive skills that were involved and that clashed. You can find a PDF of the Oregon Behavior Consultation cognitive skills list in the description below. Please know that I'm about to throw out several cognitive skills at you for the sake of introducing the overall concept. Future videos, however, are going to focus only on one skill at a time and provide information about the skill as well as practical suggestions on how you can work on these with your child or client. The number of skills on the assessment may seem overwhelming at first, but I promise that it gets easier as you get more familiar with your child or client's specific cognitive skills struggles. You're not going to be focusing on all 25 skills at once. When Jennifer gets home from school, that's a transition. Transitioning from one environment or task to another may seem natural to you or me and not even seem like it takes any effort. But actually, transitioning is a complex cognitive skill that we developed as our brains developed and as we practiced it over and over again. That's why we often say that young children struggle with transitions. That means that whenever they have to go from one thing to another, that there's going to be a cognitive skill clash, and that often results in either an anxiety response or an escalation. The more we practice this, the better we get at it. Jennifer struggles with transitioning, and her parents even greeting her at the door may be stressful for her. You'll remember that she instantly got defensive, which is a sign that the situation is not new for this family, and that being asked questions about school, which for some people is a potentially difficult topic, right when she gets through the door, triggers a little bit of escalation for her. You'll also note that the questions they were asking about school, such as how did school go, did anything happen, use short-term memory, another cognitive skill which, for people with FASD, is often a struggle. Trying to access short-term information while at the same time trying to handle a transition is tough, especially if you generally struggle with both of these skills. And additionally, holding it all together, that is, doing the right thing or holding your tongue, is yet another cognitive skill, which we call emotional regulation. Furthermore, her parents keep talking to her to try and maintain the escalation that they're seeing. And for almost every person with fetal alcohol spectrum disorders, verbal communication is tough, especially once you're upset and all of these things are happening to you at once. Understanding and processing what's being said in real time is a cognitive skill, and we refer to that as receptive communication. Now, a lot of people are going to struggle with receptive communication whenever they're escalated, regardless of the developmental disability they have. They could be autistic, they may have an intellectual disability, or even anybody who doesn't even have a disability. I say that when we get mad, we get dumb, meaning that whenever we escalate, all of our cognitive skills drop. The situation ends with everyone feeling discouraged and Jennifer being unsuccessful in maintaining her emotions, talking to her parents, doing her homework, and getting her nightly TV time. If you ask a person on the street who's unfamiliar with these situations or behavior what the solution to the situation is, most people are going to focus on Jennifer changing her behavior, because traditionally we view behavior as intentional choices and reflections on a person's character. But really, none of us work that way. In order for any of us to change our behaviors, it takes a lot of focus, regulation, and potentially planning out thoughtfully how we're going to change. So, what is cognitive support? Once we understand that many behaviors are the result of being expected to utilize cognitive skills that a person doesn't have, either in general or in the moment, we as caregivers can take specific, focused steps to either work with the person directly on avoiding the clash, or maybe to change our approach toward the person in a way that avoids triggering the clash. Cognitive support fits in with the positive behavior support behavioral model, which we use in the state of Oregon to address challenging behaviors in children and adults with developmental disabilities, and it emphasizes being proactive and working as much as possible with the person that we're supporting, rather than making changes without consulting them first. Each video in this series will focus on either an aspect of how to effectively use cognitive support or on specific cognitive skills, and each video will offer practical, clear suggestions on how to work on avoiding these skill clashes. But just as a quick example, let's see how Jennifer's parents could have used cognitive support in this situation. In this situation, let's assume that Jennifer's developmental disability is fetal alcohol spectrum disorders, and let's assume that Jennifer frequently struggles with all of the skills that we've mentioned. Jennifer, her mother, and her father have a proactive conversation and make a plan for an after-school routine. Jennifer's parents filled out the cognitive skills assessment and asked themselves which clashes frequently take place during this after-school time. They made sure that they got Jennifer's input on the major issues that frequently arose. Now, when Jennifer gets home from school, she goes directly to her room to hang up her backpack. On the back of her door, there's a visual that asks two questions: how are you feeling, and how was school today? Jennifer has 20 minutes to decompress and to watch TV, as well as to think about an answer for each of those questions. On most days, she tells her parents the answers to these questions directly, but also she has the choice to write out the answers, which is an indication to her parents, if she does so, that she needs to have less conversation for the rest of the evening because she's likely had a rough day and can't handle all of the skills it takes to simply have a conversation. So how does this new plan provide cognitive support? Firstly, it gives Jennifer time to transition. You see, the issue isn't that Jennifer can't transition, it's that she simply needs more time. By avoiding verbal communication, which is a constant struggle for her due to her disability, as soon as she walks into the house, and by providing a generous 20 minutes with no major expectations so that she can decompress, Jennifer's brain can process the new environment and the tasks that are coming up. Additionally, allowing Jennifer to choose to avoid direct conversation occasionally and write out her answers to her two questions, we avoid receptive communication clashes on rough days. There are literally hundreds of other ways that we could provide cognitive support in this situation. As you become more familiar with cognitive support and your child or client's particular skill set, the better you're going to get at seeing beyond the behaviors and brainstorming your own solutions that go along these lines. That is, solutions that directly address the cognitive skill clash and try to avoid it. And it's not only you who's going to get better at it. The more we can successfully make and adjust plans with the people we support, the better they're going to get at coming up with their own solutions. Cognitive support videos will be released every Wednesday on this YouTube channel. You can subscribe by clicking the subscribe button below, or you can like Oregon Behavior Consultation's Facebook page and watch for updates. Thanks for watching.